And within a few months, I was at a point where I even thought about that, would there be a case where I could even end my life? Because I was like, I can't live my life like that. I can't work. I can't really study.
Why are you willing to go on camera on the internet and talk about this crazy problem that you've been through?
Right, you. So I'm very happy to be here with you. And I'm very happy to speak like this with you and do this session with you. And the question about why I'm willing to do that, because I think sometime back I got to know from you, even the fact that you have helped so many men so far. No one has been willing to get on video and say their stuff. And I know why that might happen, since this is not something that people like to speak about on camera, on social media, and all of that. So I completely understand that. But I feel like you have some great courses, you have some great stuff out there, and it can literally save lives like it did for me. So I wanted to get right here and I wanted to let the people know that this is something that they can get past. And I want to inspire people to face it. And I also want to inspire some of your clients to do video reviews like this. So maybe these
Thank
are
you.
the reasons.
I appreciate that. I think that I think guys need to talk about this more. I know it's a very embarrassing and painful problem, but you know, 30 million guys in the United States, according to the American Urological Association, have ED, and there's no way to know how many worldwide, but this is a problem that needs to be talked about more, and you're incredibly brave for doing it. So thank you for doing this. Um, so what was your erection quality like before you found my stuff on YouTube?
All right. So I would like to answer this question. I would just like to take a few minutes because it might be a bit longer answer than the rest of the stuff. So how it all started, basically. So I'm not a guy right now who is very sexually active. I'm not having sex right now. And the reason for that is that because in our cultures, we have sex mostly when we are married. So I'm not married yet. So I'm not having it right now. My issues were mostly centered around masturbation. And that is how it all started. That is how it all went forward. So like most of the guys were not sexually active and they would just masturbate once in a while. Same was the case, but one time, probably I was doing it, but in the middle, I was probably not in the mood. So I could not get it hard or I could not finish it up like I wanted to do that. And after that, I became a bit worried about that why it happened. And then after a day or two, I went in to do it once again, just in order to really test myself and see if I would be able to do that. And because I was going with the intention of having to test myself, I put extra amount of that pressure on me. And just because of that, I could not do that once again. And then it happened again and again and again and again. And it became a loop of constant struggle. It became a loop of constantly worrying about that. And within a month, after it started happening, I got to a place where I could literally at times not get hard at all. And I was just by myself and I could not get hard at all because of that fear that what if I'm not able to do it? It means that something is wrong with me. I have lost something, what I would do in my life, how I would get married, what I would do. I've lost manhood and all of that. So just because of all of these fears, I could not get it hard, or even at times when I used to get it hard, I would lose it like this. So it was going around like that, a constant worry about being able to get it up. So you asked about what was it like before. So I could hardly get hard, and even if I did, I would lose it like this. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, thank you for being so honest about, what your experience was like. I think there's probably a lot of guys that are going to be watching this that are going to be in a very similar situation. Um, So like you talked sort of about the physical side and how like anxiety is sort of causing it, but what was your mental health like during this?
Sure. So what started happening, because when I started to have a hard time with it, then what happened is that I would often get to just, test myself with that extra amount of pressure, whether I would be able to do that or not. And then I would unnecessarily watch porn almost the whole day, trying to get hard, trying to force myself to get hard, sometimes trying to force to really orgasm and stuff. So I was fearful of something. And at the same time, I was becoming sort of addicted to it, not because of the fact that I was having a fun time with it, but I just wanted to test myself out there. I wanted to somehow force it, to let it happen, to show myself that I'm still a man and all of that. It might sound a bit crazy, but that is how it just went on. So the first issue obviously was the fact that I wasn't being able to get hard, and now add up the issue of being watching porn almost every single day, the whole day almost. So it all just freaked me out. I was, excuse me, I was physically drained, of course, by being on that all day long, most of the days. And then I was mentally drained because of a hell lot of anxiety, depression, fear. At the start, it was less, then it got more, more, more. And within a month or more, within 2 months or so, I got to a point where I was extremely frustrated, thinking that I'm not going to get over it at all. And the worst part about that is that you don't know whom to speak to. For example, if you're having some sort of an issue with something else, let's say sleep, let's say your speech, let's say your work, something else, you can speak to your mom, you can speak to your father, you can speak to someone else. But speaking about this with someone, even your father, your mom, it sounds really, really horrible. So I thought that I was just by myself. I had no idea how I would deal with that. And I think, Cam, I've not shared it with you in one of our meetings. One day I got unconscious because of a whole lot of stress, and I fall in my washroom. And it
Wow.
was really, really hard. But fortunately, I did not get any sort of injury or something. And my mom just came in to wake me up. And when she woke me up, it was like I'm waking up after sleep. So I got unconscious because of a whole lot of stress, a whole lot of anxiety. And I think from this experience, many of you guys can know what the anxiety, what the depression was like. And when my mom and my father asked me that why it was, I just said that I did not sleep well and something like that because I did not know how to really open it up to them. And within a few months, I was at a point where I even thought about that, would there be a case where I could even end my life? Because I was like, I can't live my life like that. I can't work. I can't really study. I can't speak to people. I can't do anything at all because being really very much addicted and because I'm mentally drained. I don't, it's hard to even get back and really have to think about that mental state because I could not even work for 5, 6 minutes. Because whole day I was thinking about that. Then I would often really cry out that why me, why it's happening with me. I would often ask God that why me, why it's happening with me, and all of that. So yeah, man, it was like this before.
I think, I mean, I didn't know it got to the point where you were actually passed out from it, but I think it's also really interesting, like, and I hope the guys that are watching this notice that, like, while you're telling that part of the story now, you're actually smiling. And I think that that's really a testament to how far you've come. Because I think most of these guys, if they were telling their story to somebody, especially something as serious as getting to the point where they were considering ending their life, which, you know, you and I have talked about because we both got to that point. But I think most guys, if they're telling somebody about that, they're not going to be able to smile about it, even if it, you know, it happened a year ago, because they're still sort of in the midst of it. Um, so what is your erection quality like now?
So, although I would speak about how it happened next, but speaking about how it is now, like I'm able to get hard when I want, as easy as I like, and I don't worry about losing it. And sometimes, and I think I've shared it with you, I'm like, why am I not worrying about losing it? So, so I've been on that point as well. So I'm no longer worried about it, and I'm no longer really addicted to masturbation, porn. I might just do it once in a while and do it when I really need it, and I would just have fun with it instead of fearing it, instead of being fearful of it, and all of that. And just to mention a point in the midst that some of you guys might think that your case is a bit unique than ours, but I think Cam would really affirm to this because he knows both sides that my issue is a lot harder than most of you guys, or it might be harder than most of you guys because of the fact that, and I've heard Cam say it a lot, that sex makes it a lot easier. You have someone, and it just makes the whole process quite easier. But when you are by yourself, you just don't know what to do, what you can think of as failure, what you can think of as a success, whether you're moving in the right or the wrong direction. You have no one to speak to, you have no one to look up to, and you are facing all that anxiety, depression, all by yourself. So my case might be a bit unique, but and I've heard it from him that's why I'm saying it. It's a lot easier than most of you guys, and now I'm at a point where I'm looking forward to being really married because I know that I won't have any sort of issues with it. I would have a fun time with it. So this is how it has been to answer your question.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely a lot easier when you have somebody that you can work through it with, a partner in sexual situations. And I would say that, there's ED is a spectrum in the sense of like you know, some guys can get past it very easily in a few weeks with the right, a few mental changes and a few behavioral changes. And some guys, they have a pretty big mountain in front of them. And, you and I were both guys who had a pretty big mountain in front of us. And, I, there was a very specific mountain that you had to climb that you were pretty resistant to. So do you remember on our first call what the advice that I gave you was that you didn't necessarily like?
So I would like to speak about it in two aspects. The first aspect, so yeah, when I was facing all of that, I kept searching on YouTube, I kept searching on Google to find something that could help me out. And you would find a lot of videos from guys who would just randomly speak about it here and there. But I was not getting any sort of help right there. Luckily, I found Cam on YouTube, and I think the first video that I saw of yours was four things that you have to do if you're struggling with ego. Four or five, I'm not sure. I think it was four.
Yeah.
That was the first one. And I can remember I watched almost all of the YouTube videos you had until then in like maybe I would say 3 days, maybe 2 days, like all of them. And I just
No.
kept looking at one, moved on to the second. And just after that, I got some hope. But with that, I would say just some hope. I was still not at a point where I was like, it's really going to help me get past it and all of that. But at least I got some hope that there might be something. And even when you're at a very bad mental state, even if you hear a might be, that is often sometimes really, really good to hear. So I got to know about him right there. I went onto his website and I saw that I could book a call with him without giving it a thought. I just booked a call with him, and I think I had to fill a form or something for that. And then I booked a call with you. And the first aspect that, once again, I don't think I've spoken to you about that. The first major part about our meeting was that you did not try to sell me something. Like in that first meeting, you were not like, get my course, get my coaching, and stuff like that. In fact, you mentioned that probably you might not need it right now. Like this was the first time I was hearing someone say it who works who works in a field and who makes all of his living doing that. So that was the first aspect, which sounded really great. And that was the point where I started to really sort of trust you, because I knew from that that you're not just doing it for the sake of having to earn. And you have to do it, of course, since you have to make a life out of it, but you're not doing it for that. The second thing, now let me mention what you advised me, and that was that Cam advised me on the first call to have a break from masturbation and to do what is called the NoFap, where you take 90 days off of it and all of that. And when I heard it, I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And just because of the fact that I was really sort of, you know, having to, I was really, really addicted to it. Although I wanted to get out of it, at the same time, I did not want to get out of it. As weird as it might sound, I wanted to fix it while watching porn all day, each and every single day, and all of that. So I was like very, very resistant. And even after the first call, he said that a lot of the anxiety that you're dealing with is going to take care of itself when you take a break from it. And he said it for all the right reasons, because I was so mentally drained, I was so physically drained. So I was not just having that anxiety from not being able to get hard, but also a lot of anxiety from doing something over and over again that we are not naturally built for. Like you can't have even sex, you can't have it like maybe 50 times a day, 60 times a day. You can't. Like you're not made like that. So if you do it over and over again, each and every single day, the first thing it means that it is not normal. Of course, that a normal mind, a healthy mind wouldn't want to do it every single hour, every single minute. It means that you're really, really addicted to it. And then it creates a lot of anxiety in your brain, because you're having to force it to do something which it is not built for. It might be like standing on your head for most of the days, and you're not built for that. So obviously, it would create a lot of issues. So he said the first thing that you have to do is this. I vividly remember that 2 days after our call, 3 days after our call, maybe I just sent you an email and I said that I would not like to do this. I would not like to do the NoFap, and I want your course, because I thought that it is mostly from the mental standpoint, which it certainly was. But you said in the email that the course would help you a lot. If you really want it, do it, but also do the NoFap with it. And I thought that I would just fake it by saying that, all right, I have your course and it's really working for me and I don't need NoFap and all of that. And at the start, obviously, even after I got the course, I was not doing NoFap, but, and I'm going to speak about the course after a while, but within a month, even without doing the NoFap, I have to mention that I got at a lot, lot better place than I was, because of the course and because of all the stuff that is in right there. But after a month, after 1 month and a half, when I still knew that there is something else going on as well. So I sent Cam some more mails and all of that stuff, that should I do it? Should I not do it? I don't want to do it. And I think it took Cam around 5, 6 months to, made me realize that I had to do it. When I was at a point where I was like, hey, I don't have any other option. Yes, I am dealing with all the mental stuff with the course, but this is a must for me right now. Then I did it. And I did not think that I'm going to do it, but it took me around 6, 7 months to do that. And I did that. I did all the course and stuff. And I'm going to speak about the course. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So like I had a pretty hard time with NoFap, and I know there's I now have actually had two people who I told them to do NoFap and they did it starting that day and didn't fail even once. But the overwhelming majority of people fail repeatedly. And could you speak about your experience with like you said it took you 6 months, but can you talk a little bit about what it was like trying to do that?
So it was harder for me because of the fact that as I said, I was not sexually active. So when you are sexually active, I think one more sort of advantage to that is that after some time you can still have sex.
Yeah.
So I think that is an advantage right there. But when you know that for 90 days or for this much time, you can't do anything at all, that thought in itself has a lot of fear built into that. And I did it, I failed, did it again, I failed, did it again, I failed. And although I'm saying 6 months, but I think it was longer. First of all, it took me 6 months to an year to make me realize, and for you to make me realize that I have to do it. And after that, it took me 6, 7 more months to do it.
Yeah.
So that is how it went. It was really hard, but it was very important because all the mental stuff that I was doing with the course, it might have been very hard for me if I was still at the same time really, really addicted to porn and masturbation and all this stuff. Because I had a break from it, I had time to really train my mind with the help of Cam, his course, and his coaching that I'm also going to speak about. It made the process a lot easier while doing that. And it really took care of a lot of the anxieties out there that were based on that mostly.
And so you've mentioned the course, like your experience with the course a couple times. Can you go ahead and elaborate on like how you used it and what it helped with?
Okay, so I really wanted to speak about that. So the first audio that I heard of you, I don't exactly remember the name of that one, but the first audio that I heard, it's I think 14, 15 minutes or something like that. I think 15, 16, something like that. After that first audio, sometime before in the session, I mentioned that when I watched his YouTube videos, I got that thought that there might be something. After listening to his first audio, I was the happiest person, I would say, because you say a lot of stuff in there that just changed a lot of stuff in my mind just from hearing the audio once. So 15 minutes before, I was literally someone else, and 15 minutes after, I was someone else in my mind. It had a significant impact on my life, and I still remember vividly. It was like 1 or 1.5 at night when I heard that, and that was a night where I slept with ease, knowing that I would get past it. So that first one had a huge, huge impact. Just to mention something in between, when I started Ken's course, I was not working, so I had no means to buy his course. So I had to ask my uncle to pay for it. Although it was not a lot, but since I was not making something by myself, so he had to pay for it. And later, when I got to work and all the stuff, so I really paid him back and everything. But the course, yeah. So I heard the first one was really, really great. It changed my mindset. And then I kept listening to your audios over and over and over and over and over and over again, as long as I can say that. Now I was starting to get really addicted to your audios. So I would just keep listening to them because of the impact, because of the great impact they were having on my mindset, because of the great impact it was having on myself. And it was changing all the mental stuff in there that was right there for a lot of time. But let me mention, it is not something that you can just listen to once, that you can listen to an audio once and you're like, I'm fine. Each of them, all of the audios that are right there inside the course, you have to keep listening to them over and over and over and over again. And Cam also mentions in the course that every time you get small nuggets that you never noticed before. So it was constant listening of that. And I used to listen to that, I think, at least an hour a day. So I just kept listening to that, and it started to change my mindset to a point where I started to feel happier, not just related to stuff about sex and stuff, but generally, I started to become happier in my life by listening to those audios over and over again. And yeah, so it is a matter of constant listening, or let me say it like this: repetition, maybe consistent repetition over time is what makes you get to where you want. But it had a significant impact on me.
And so you mentioned that like it changed you as a person. And I think for a lot of guys who are watching this, it's like they can kind of have a vague idea that you know, that this problem is mental. Um, but can you explain it to, you know, to how you experienced it, how changing your mind fixed the problem?
All right. So when I say mind, I mention about the thoughts that I was having to think over and over and over and over again. And the fact was that the whole day long, and many of the guys know what I'm speaking about if they're in that situation right now, when you're having a hard time getting hard, it's not about that situation only. It's about your whole day, every single day. As I said, there was not even a single minute where I was not having to really think about it, where I was not trying to solve it in my head, constantly being worried about it, constantly being anxious about it, constantly really, thinking about it over and over again. So my mind was really creating something that it was fearful about by thinking about that over and over again. So I learned from the course how to stop that loop, how to stop that thought loop of constantly worrying about it, of constantly being anxious about it, of constantly really, really thinking about it over and over again, why it's happening, how I'm going to fix it, this, that, and all of that, and thinking that me being anxious means that, like, your mind says that I'm trying to solve the problem by being anxious, but it's that anxiety that is really creating that is really getting you into what you're struggling with. So once you can take care of your mind, Kim also mentions in one of the YouTube videos, and I'm saying this because I've listened to you a lot. The YouTube videos, your audios, I have almost, sort of, I think, memorized them in a way. So in one of
You
your
quote
YouTube
them
videos,
sometimes in our calls.
yeah. So in one of your YouTube videos, you said that if I can take your negative thoughts away right now, your erections would come back like this. And that is exactly what happens because it's in your mind, everything going on. And when you can take care of that, it start to fix what you're actually struggling with. Many of us feel that we are struggling with sex and stuff, but it is a struggle as a whole with your mindset, and it is having an impact, and one of the impacts is having a hard time being hard and all of that. So once you take care of the cause, the underlying cause, the impact starts to take care of itself, and you learn how to do that inside the course. I would never have learned how to do it on my own, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it took me years of sitting in a monastery to figure that out, and it was a lot of time, a lot of time. Um, so you've also worked with me one-on-one. How does that differ from working with the course?
All right, so this is a great question that you asked, and although I was working with the course, I was working on the nofab, all of that, but you know that when you're facing something, the best part about working one on one with someone is that you can get, how do I say, you can get that tailored feedback based on your exact situation. The course, of course, it's really, really general, but when you're with a coach, you are more encouraged because you know that you're going in the right aspect. Because let me tell you, the process, it's fun, but it's not going to be extremely easy. So you're going to have times where you're going to fail, even after having his course. And even after some of his sessions with him, I got to a point somewhere in between where I thought that it might still not work for me. So you might also have thoughts like that, even while you're in the process, because you are changing a habit that you have been following for a lot of months, for a lot of years. So it takes time. So you are more encouraged, you are more accountable in a sense, because you know that I have to do all the work since I would have to meet with the coach and everything. And then you get the feedback based upon your exact situation. So you can ask him that this is what I'm exactly having a hard time with. And that is where the coach helps you. And I'm speaking about the coaching one on one a lot because that is something that I do as well. I help out the people with their speeds, stuttering, stammering, and all of that. So I know how helpful it is for clients to be working one on one with them. And that is exactly the help I needed with this stuff. So, yes, the course, no fab, all of that was having a great impact, but I needed that individualized feedback and I wanted to get my individualized questions answered. And that is where the coaching helped a lot. And these three work for me like a tripod stand. No fab, force the coaching. Without one, I think it would have fallen. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you. And do you think, like if you look back to that first call when you got on, when you got on a call with me, did you ever think, like, did you honestly think that this was a problem you could get past?
Not at all. I would say, and when I say not at all, I exactly mean not at all. And Cam said in the start of this session, right now, I'm mostly having a smile on my face when I'm speaking about all of that. And it is because of the fact that I'm really past it. I'm not really emotionally attached to it and all of that. And that is the main reason. But at that point, I was at a point, like I mentioned, I was even thinking about the fact that I might end my life. So there was no hope right there. And I was not at a point. I was only 21, maybe. And at that age, you're not very, very mature as well. You don't know how to deal with stuff for the most part. And I was not making money. So I could not also reach out to people and spend a lot of money and all of that. So in my mind, I was all by myself. I did not know whom to speak to. In short, I thought that I was never going to fix it at all.
Yeah. I think a lot of the guys who are probably watching this don't think that they can get past it. And so, having been through the process, and I would say of all the people that I've worked with, you are probably one of the people who had a harder time with this. What would you say to the guys that are sitting out there watching this, thinking, "Yeah, well, that's him, but not me."
So bringing back once again to one of your videos, YouTube videos, where I heard you saying that this is the best thing that has happened to me by far. And you said that I'm happy that I had to face it. And I'm happy that all of you are facing it as well because it's going to change your life. And when I heard it for the first time, I was like, what is he saying? Does he know what he's saying? Because I was at a place where it sounded unbelievable at all. Like I could not believe it in it at all. And right now, when I really sort of think about it, I'm like, I know what you're saying, or I know what you said in that video. And for me as well, if I would be born once again, I think I might want to face this once again because it made me who I am right now. And it did not just help me become better with the aspect of sex and stuff, but I got a lot better at my thoughts. I got a mental state. I got into a mental state that I was a lot happier, that I am a lot happier, I feel a lot more fulfilled, that I think I might not have felt that way if I had not had to struggle with it and work on my mind constantly over and over again. Because when you're not struggling and when you're not severely struggling with something, or let's say this way, but until you're not severely struggling with something, you don't work on it. But because of the fact that I was severely struggling with it, and this course, the coaching, and everything, it made me work on my mindset, my thoughts and stuff. So I think right now I consider myself at a very happy place, at a very fulfilled place, feeling happy that I had to face it. And I think I'm a lot happier and fulfilled right now than I would have been if I had not faced this issue and worked on my mindset, because I would never have worked on my mindset because I would not have been struggling with something that was extremely severe. When you're struggling with this, you have no option but to work on it. So you work on it and you get to a point where life feels a lot more fulfilled and happy than even the average person out there, I would say.
No, thank you. I mean, I have such a appreciation for that answer because I like when I say that this is the best thing that ever happened to me or one of the best things that ever happened to me, I really mean it, and you know that. You know I'm not exaggerating. You know, I'm a guy who, you know, I've had a lot of wonderful things happen to me in my life, but this is truly, you know, it was a thing that totally changed the course of my life, and it didn't do it by like, you know, the winning the lottery type of experience. It did it through you know, it was a very painful experience, and it pushed me to the brink of who I was. And you know, I had to learn who I was in order to get past it. And one of the things that's so fulfilling about this job is now I'm on the other end of it, and I get, you know, I get guys like you get on the call with me and be like, no, I'm not doing no fap. And you give me all the logical reasons that you come up with why it's not necessary. And I just nod my head. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you don't want to do it, but I know you're going to because you don't have an option. You know, I think the sooner that guys realize like there's no other option but to face it. Like your options are be miserable and get more and more miserable or face it. And when you face it, it's not that bad. Like it's not fun to face it. Most people wouldn't choose that, but like facing it is actually less hard than not facing it. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know. It's such an interesting problem because it's you know, I think guys, yeah, it's until you really have gotten past it, you cannot understand that I mean that. And I know you mean it when you're happy that you saying I would do it again. Because it's a problem that it gives you more than you know, you get more in return than you put in. Um, so you know, there's a lot of men watching this. Like, is there anything else you want to say to them? Anything I haven't asked you about? You know, just anybody who's struggling or anything that you think I would be helpful or anything we haven't mentioned.
So, yeah. So, just to mention one point on what you said, I think facing it is hard, but struggling with it is much harder than that. So I think that is how it mostly sounds. So for all of the people who are watching this right now, who are having to hear this, you might be at a point where you don't believe that you will get past it. But I'm saying this from having experienced the coaching, experiencing the course and everything, that you'll not just get past it, you'll be better at it than most of the people. And as I said, you would live a more fulfilled and happy life than the average person out there, because you would have to literally work on your mind. You would have to work on your mindset. So if you're right now, I know it might sound very weird, like it did to me when I heard Cam say that this is the best thing and all of that. But I know what it means. You have to do the work with all the stuff, but it's literally going to pay off for the rest of your life. So you, as I said, you're not just going to get better at sex than most of the people, but you would be at a point where you would live a very fulfilled life. And the best part about that is that because of struggling with ED, many of the people like myself, they build a fear around sex. They start to fear it. And when they are going to do it, all of that, they have a fear going into that. Now, being being past it, this is something that you look forward to. Like you look, like as I mentioned, you look forward to being married, you look forward to having sex and stuff, because you know that now you're going to have a fun time with it, and most probably you're going to be better at it, and you're going to be pretty happy. So this is so you move from being fearful about it to looking forward to it. And one more thing I would like to mention, and I think I mentioned it to you just before this call, and that was the fact that, as I said, I work as a coach. I work with people who stutter, who stammer. I started working 1 month after I got CAM's course. Although it was in plan for the last 6 to 7 months, even more than that, but I could not just get started with that because I was not at a place, I was not at a mental place where I could work. I was not at a mental place where I could literally help people out with something. So all the work that I have been doing for the last more than 2 years, Cam also has the credit for all of that because I have been doing all of that because he made me reach to a mental state. He made me reach to a point where I could do the work that I wanted to do in my life, all of the work, all of the studies, all of the people that I wanted to meet. Because then I started to get into a mental state where I was more happier. I was more fulfilled. I wanted to get out. I wanted to speak to more people. I want to work more, all of that. So all the work and all of the stuff that I'm doing right now, I started it, the speech work that I'm doing, I started it 1 month after getting started with the course. And when I say 1 month, you guys can really imagine that the course is so really powerful that within a 1 month you can not be you might not be exactly where you want to be since it takes time for most of the people, but you're at a stage where you start to look up for the stuff that you have in life. You start to get out there and do it. So yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, you actually told me about that piece of it just before this call started. That's the first time you've ever told me, which is, you said you give me all the credit. I don't get all the credit. You definitely did all the hard work to make that happen. And you, if you overcame, this is the second very difficult thing in your life that I'm aware of that you've overcome. The reason that you're able to help with that problem is because you had a very difficult speech issue when you were younger and you had to put in the work to do it. Um, so I think having gone through two like I would say similar in the sense of they are problems that if you didn't face them would have caused a lot of issues for your life. Um, I think that you were in some ways uniquely, you were uniquely set up to deal with this, to deal with ED. But also like for me, one of my own experiences is that the thing that ED really helped me with was confidence in the sense of I don't think there's going to be many problems in my life that I'm going to get that are going to be as difficult as ED was. And so now when I get normal problems in my life, I'm just sort of like, yeah, I'll get through it, you know? And, you had a very interesting combination of, on our first call of like, you were in a really dark place. We talked about that on that very first call, but you also showed a level of tenacity in that call that, I would say is unusual. And it's interesting. I had a conversation with my wife after our first call, and it was like my third or fourth call of that day. And she was like, "You're in a really good mood after that call." And I was like, "Really? Yeah, yeah." And she was like, "Why?" And I was like, "Oh, because he's definitely gonna get past ED." And she was like, "Really? So he like listened to you and like was like totally on board with all the things that you said?" And I said, "Oh no, he wasn't on board with any of those things, but I'm pretty confident he's gonna get past it." Because you just, you were you weren't ready to do the things, but you were very, very clear that you had to face it. And that facing it is really to me, you know, you can work on your mind, you can work on sex, you can do all that, but if you're not really willing to be honestly just look at the problem, it's never going to get better. And that's the thing that you were like, I could tell you were really going to do it. And I think a lot of guys, it's not that hard to get there. I think they're really close, but one of the things I'm really hoping this interview will do for people is allow them to realize, like, you're talking to two guys who have done it. There's other interviews on my website about other people who've done it, but this is a face, and I'm hoping that a lot of you will become Farrukh. Like, I want you to become testimonials because you've gotten past this problem. And when you're past it, it's not that painful to talk about, honestly. I can tell you some really embarrassing things that happened to me during my journey with this because I don't care, I'm not worried about it anymore. And not everyone's going to get to that degree, but like, Farrukh, I promise you, on our first call, would never have considered that he'd be on a video talking about this with me. Yeah, but he's also not a unique case in the sense of he found a way to fix the problem and he just did it. And in some ways he's a unique case in that he really put a lot of effort in and he had a really challenging case, but in a lot of ways he's not a unique case in that he just faced it. And so would you agree with that? Like, what is your experience with that?
Yeah, exactly. Each and every word that you said, I can relate 100% to that. And you also mentioned in our first call, and after that, when I started to work with you, you mentioned that with each and every session, you are noticing less anxiety in my voice.
Yeah.
And I can also remember you saying that because you said that on our first call, there was a whole lot of anxiety that I could listen to in your voice. And then it kept lesser and lesser and lesser and lesser. And I have to mention that I think I still have some sessions left with Cam, but I'm pretty much to the point where I wanted to be. So I'm very, very happy that I found you. And I really don't know. Like, if I would look back and I would ask myself, where would I have been if I had not found you? I think I don't have an answer to that. So I'm really happy that I found it. And I'm really happy that I had to work with you. I had to work with all of the stuff because I can't say that more. Like, I don't have words to really express what I feel for the work that you have done so far, for the work that you are doing right now. I think I've mentioned it a lot of the times in our emails. It's literally God's work. Like, it is there saving lives. So if you can save lives with your work, what's more than that, I believe.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Well,
And
that's the last question I have. If you've got anything else you want to say before we head out here.
Sure. So as I said, when I was mentioning about that to you, and when I was speaking about that with you, although I was having some hard time with it, but having faced ED and being really past it, just like you mentioned, you're at a point where you are like, now I can face literally anything. So having faced that gives you a huge amount of confidence to deal with any sort of mental issue. And even if there is something maybe, physically going on and you have to fix something in your life or whatever, being past ED would give you a huge amount of confidence that you would be like, if I can do that, I can do whatever I want to do in my life. And that is how the mindset shifts with that. So yeah, just to mention at the start, I know that you guys might be having a hard time with it, but you're not alone, and it's a fixable thing. And when I say fixable, I don't mean we are trying to fix something, but we are moving even above fixing it. And the fun fact is that when we move even above it, it gets fixed by itself. It might sound a bit weird, but that is how it goes. So working with it, you're going to have a very happy life. You're going to have a very fulfilled life. Cam is very highly recommended because, excuse me, because I believe that someone who can help you with something is only the one who has struggled with it and who got past it. So if you're looking for someone who can help you, see these aspects. Number one, he or she has struggled with it, him or herself, and then they got past it. Only they, like, I believe that only they can help you with it. The rest of the people can say some helpful stuff that we are there to help you out and you'll get past it. It's not that big of a deal, all of that. But I think you need a lot more than that. And you get that from someone who had a hard time with it and who got past it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's how I choose my teachers for things as well, is people, if I have a problem, I go to somebody who's had that problem and then they fixed it themselves. And So yeah, I think that's one of the things that makes me good at this job is that I've been there. I understand what you're like, and I think another thing is just that I care about guys. When you get on a call with me, like, I assume you probably felt that, but I try to help you understand that I care about you, and I'm, like you said, I'm not just there for a paycheck. Like I keep in contact with a lot of guys that I've helped through this problem because, they become people that I know them and they know me, and this is a very intimate problem to fix. So, cool.
And
Well, okay.
just one extra point on that. Although I really paid you for the course, for all of the sessions that we had, but you have been helping me a lot more with the mails and stuff. And I don't pay you for the mails and emails and all of the stuff.
Yeah.
So that aspect and a lot of the rest of the aspects, it really shows that you are willing to help the people out with it to the best that you can. You uh, really nurture, you really sort of nurtured me and that is something that I really wanted, that I really needed. And I think I've mentioned it in a lot of sessions to you that you're like a father figure to me. So I have a lot of respect for you and for all the work that you have done. And I'm very happy that I got to find you. And I'm sure, and I really hope that most of the people are going to be very inspired by watching this session. And and many of your clients, you have not only helped me, you have helped thousands of men. So I hope that they would also be willing to get out on video and do the stuff that we did right.
Thank you. I hope you are a trendsetter. I hope we get a lot of guys that are willing to get on these calls because it's one thing for me to say something, but when you hear somebody else who's been through it and then you hear another person and you hear another person, it's just way easier to do it. And I really appreciate the courage it took to get on here and show your face and use your real name and just be a real person because I think you know um we're all people. Everyone who's struggling with this is just a person, and connection is how we get through it. So, well, thank you very much for taking the time, and yeah, have a great day.